Our Valley wouldn't have its own community foundation without the financial and staff support we receive from the Community Foundation for Greater New Haven. I know some of the TCF board and staff are here tonight, and I want to say how grateful we all are for your support. There is one individual who will forever be in the founding documents and history of VCF, and that is William Ginsberg. Will has been president and CEO of the Community Foundation for Greater New Haven since 2000. Much of Will's career focused on economic development, community banking, and community philanthropy. Before Will came to the Community Foundation 23 years ago, he served in the Clinton administration as Assistant Secretary for Economic Development in the U.S. Department of Commerce and as Chief of Staff to the Secretary of Commerce. Please join me in welcoming the President and CEO of the Community Foundation for Greater New Haven, Will Ginsberg.
Thank you, Alita, so much. So nice to see you. Thank you all. It's so nice to see so many friends here. And I'm really glad, Alita, you mentioned the Great Give, because it was great again this year for so many wonderful organizations, including so many wonderful organizations in the Valley, as you said. So we've just come off that, and there's a lot to be proud of. I thank you all for being here to celebrate VCF and all it means to the community of the Lower Naugatuck Valley. And I thank you for inviting me to be here with you. It's really a pleasure and a privilege for me. Each year I look forward to this opportunity to see so many friends and to revel in the sense of community spirit that is always so evident in this room at the VCF annual meeting. You can feel it. Unlike too many other, I go to a lot of meetings, there are not too many that have this good feeling in the room. So VCF, this is the 19th annual meeting, as Alita said. VCF is in its 20th year. And for those of us who've been part of this institution since it was just an idea, this seems pretty remarkable. But there it is. 20 years ago, we were having conversations exploring the idea of an affiliated community foundation and how it might be structured. And then here it is next winter, next February, it'll be exactly 2 decades since VCF was founded and since we signed our first affiliation agreement together. It's been almost 2 decades then since Angela Powers, my colleague who's over here, came to the Valley to turn those ideas into the robust reality that exists today. Almost 2 decades during which Angela and Jamie Cohen and Sharon Closius, with huge support from staff and so many volunteers and donors and Valley nonprofits, including, of course, many of the people in this room, many of you have built VCF into the important and indeed indispensable institution and presence that it is in this community. VCF is making a big difference in the life of the Valley today, and every bit as importantly, and I emphasize this, it's building the capacity to continue to do so far into the future, a future that we can't even imagine. We're so grateful to you all and to your fellow believers across this Valley for your generosity, for your confidence, and for your belief in this enterprise. You know, at the Community Foundation in New Haven on Audubon Street, we know the Valley to be a proud, strong, deep-rooted, generous, and unique community that believes in itself and that is committed to building a future for its next generation. We knew that in 2004, and knowing that, we were excited at the prospect of partnering with the group of Valley community leaders who believed that the Valley could turn all that wonderful community spirit into a permanent institution dedicated to building the future of this community. So I can't let this occasion lapse without mentioning some of their names, and some of you I've had the pleasure of already seeing tonight. The founding visionaries, if you will. People like, and I won't get everybody, so forgive me, but people like Mary Pepe and Jimmy Ryan and Ray Levides and Joe Pagliaro Sr. and Joe Pagliaro Jr. and Liz Kennard, who I just saw for the first time in years, and Ken Scheibel and Bill Bassett, who I was delighted to see tonight, and Alan Tima, who I'm always delighted to see, but I see more often, and Greg Stamos and Dave Grant and Dave Rifkin. VCF roots run, I don't need to tell you all, run very, very deep in this community. So it's important to remember those original visionaries. And this evening, I particularly want to thank the VCF board members who are carrying forward this leadership work, this work of stewarding and growing VCF and re-envisioning it for a very different time. So thank you to Nancy Valentine, the chair, and thank you to Alita. Thank you to Angela Powers again, TCF's appointee to your board. Special thanks to my friend Terry Jones, who's sitting right in front of me here, one of the great community leaders I've known and had the pleasure of meeting. A person who, and pardon the pun, as you all know, is truly and deeply and uniquely and literally rooted in the very soil of the lower Naugatuck Valley. So Terry sits actually on the boards, when he's not rooted in the soil of Shelton, he's sitting on the boards of both VCF and our board, TCF in New Haven. So he is a critical keeper of the flame of our partnership, and Terry, we thank you for that. And Terry, I have to say, is joined by all of his TCF board colleagues whose commitment to this partnership remains steadfast. Joe Gordon is here, who's a regular attendee at this meeting. Thank you, Joe, for being here. I haven't seen Greg Pepe. He's often at this meeting because he is a devoted son of Seymour, and he will forever be a devoted son of Seymour. I don't think Greg is here tonight. Of course, Sharon Closius and her team are the force behind all that VCF does. So thank you, Sharon, and thank you to your whole team. And thank you to the staff in New Haven as well, who work every day with Sharon and her team in support of VCF. It is truly all of us. It's the grant-making staff, and it's the development staff, and it's the finance staff, and it's the investment staff, and it's the human resources staff. Special thanks are due to Angela again, and to Wendy Gamba. Where's Wendy? She's here somewhere. Who is way over there. Wendy, who serves as Chief Financial Officer for both TCF and VCF. So she's the one who makes it all work at the level of the numbers, which is, of course, very important. So there are so many to thank because there's so much to be proud of in what the people of this valley have built and are building here at VCF, and what we are building together as partners. We are deeply proud to be your partners. So having said all that, I would say that surely as we think about our partnership and as we think about all that's come before, we also need to think that these times demand that our work together looks different going forward. In this spring of 2023, happily, there are almost no masks in this room. Last year I was double masked at this meeting. So in this spring of 2023, the fog of fear and uncertainty that obscured our view of the future over the 38 months of this terrible pandemic seems to be lifting at long last. These beautiful spring days to me are a metaphor for brighter times ahead after all the pain and all the loss. I feel that way even as I acknowledge the profound challenges ahead as we confront a changed and changing world. As we look forward from the perspective of 70 Audubon Street in New Haven with that clearing view, we see a new reality that challenges some of our pre-COVID assumptions about how we make progress as a community. I say that because I view COVID as having been a profound test for our community and for our society, actually. And my belief is that from an equity standpoint specifically, we have failed that test. Our country has failed the test, our state has failed the test, the equity test, and our greater New Haven community has failed the equity test. You just have to look at the data. Racial, ethnic, and gender disparities have widened, whether measured by health outcomes or educational outcomes or economic outcomes. City-suburb disparities have widened. The point is that the progress we thought we were making in becoming a more equitable community has been shown to be inadequate in the harsh light of the COVID stress test. To us, for this reason, one of the profound lessons of this pandemic is that we need to find new ways of promoting opportunity and equity, which are the twin pillars of our work. That's why we have committed ourselves over the last 3 years to thinking differently, collaborating more fully, listening to and empowering new voices, and working in new ways. There is no going back to the way things were pre-COVID. I could go on and on about the new ways in which we're working, but I won't do that because this is VCF's annual meeting. This is not our annual meeting. That was 2 weeks ago. But I mentioned a couple of things that may be of interest to you all. Our foundation now is not only working as we always have to make the nonprofit sector stronger, Now we're also working to make the for-profit sector more equitable. We're working with a network of entrepreneur support organizations in our community to build what we're calling the New Haven Equitable Entrepreneurial Ecosystem, or NHE3. And Joe Williams, where's Joe, who's leading that work way in the back? Thank you, Joe. I'm delighted you're here. Joe Williams is leading that work. NHE3 provides technical support, access to capital, and grants to entrepreneurs of color and women entrepreneurs in order to break down long-standing barriers to opportunities in the small business sector. We've committed substantial resources to this effort, and we've raised significant new funds from the state of Connecticut and the city of New Haven as well. And the second thing I'll mention is what we call our Black Future Strategy. And I'm delighted that Erica, where's Erica? Erica's here as well, who's leading that work. Our Black Future Strategy is rooted in the recognition that for too long, the narrative in philanthropy and in society more broadly has focused much too little on Black excellence and Black achievement and legacy and wealth creation, and much too much on social and economic deficits. This old narrative is rooted, sad to say, in a racist past, and it reinforces racism for the future and the present. A new narrative is clearly needed. And as evidenced by our longstanding support for New Haven Promise, the Foundation has long prioritized Black achievement and potential. Today, our grant making, our capacity building, and our other programmatic work is broadly and increasingly reflective of this new narrative approach, as is the Foundation's development work with our donors. I understand that the VCF board is recommitting to VCF's work on diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. We're delighted, Sharon, and board members at that. I commend you, and I thank you for continuing this important work here at VCF. In pursuing all this new work that I've described, as well as our traditional work, the Foundation, since 2021, our Foundation has supplemented our regular endowment spending with what will, by the end of this year, be an additional $8.5 million. This is a supplemental extraction from our endowments. This additional stepping forward spending ends at the end of 2023, as planned, as originally planned. But our stepping forward priorities of addressing COVID's impacts, addressing COVID's disparities, and advancing racial equity will remain as top priorities of ours going forward. So as I said on this occasion last year, VCF was founded on the core principle that the people of the Valley's leaders, the Valley's residents, the Valley's institutions, you all and your fellow travelers across this Valley know your community best. That remains a core principle of our partnership today. And for this reason, as we look forward, we look to VCF, we look to you all, we look to Sharon and her team, we look to the board to take the lead role in defining the path forward for Valley philanthropy in what we will soon, I hope, be able to call the post-COVID era. So I congratulate you again on all that you're doing. Your partners in New Haven are looking forward very much to working with you, as we have, and in new ways, to put philanthropy to work to build a bright post-COVID future for the people of the Lower Naugatuck Valley and the generations to come. Thank you very much.